This is probably the most exciting news I've received all week, and I've just been laying in bed at night just thinking about the news that I just heard. And I just gotta tell somebody, you know? So a couple days ago by this point, SpongeBob has now gotten a TikTok account. Which, you know, yay. SpongeBob TikToks, we can never get enough of those. But it got really interesting when they made one specific post that started getting my head spinning. And it has to do with the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl has never been so sweet.
Now, when I saw this video, I started getting really giddy, because for the longest time now, people have been asking for SpongeBob to be at the Super Bowl. The reason why is because there's this really old episode long ago. You know, Squidward is competing with his arch rival from high school or college, I don't quite remember, Squilliam Fancyson. And in order to try to compete against Squilliam, Squidward tries to assemble a band with the Bikini Bottom, you know, people. The thing is, though, is that they kind of sucked. So he started to walk away, started to get scared, but the good old people of Bikini Bottom said, no, we're gonna perform the absolute hell out of this. And then they went on stage and they did. And they sang Sweet Victory. And it was amazing. This episode is iconic, the music is iconic, the entire scene is just straight up iconic. And for the longest time after this episode was released, people have been asking and wondering if they would ever make them do the Super Bowl. And for a time back in 2019, we thought that our prayers and hopes would be answered. And to their credit, they did show up, but they only showed up for like 30 seconds in the Super Bowl as some small little video. And then that was it, and then they were gone. And then they were taken over by Maroon 5, and if I remember correctly, I remember that performance being infamously bad. And so that left a bad taste in everybody's mouth when it comes to SpongeBob and the Super Bowl, because we got played by fools. We've been Schmeckledorfed. And for the longest time, that was that. People gave up hope that they would ever put SpongeBob in the Super Bowl. But now that they released this video that I showed you, I'm really hoping that they do put them in the Super Bowl, because I feel like that would be the redemption that the Super Bowl needs when it comes to SpongeBob and when it comes to halftime shows. I feel like for like a lot of the time, Super Bowl half shows can sometimes be hit and miss. You get really good performances, don't get me wrong, but you also get these really stinker performances that are just like, ugh. Why am I watching this? So it's going to be really interesting to see if they can actually pull this off. Now, to their credit, I think it is going to be kind of difficult, especially when it comes to the boomers. You know, the older people who really don't know what SpongeBob is, and I think they'd kind of be disappointed if they found out that the halftime Super Bowl show is going to be taken up by SpongeBob SquarePants. That might rub some people the wrong way, but I think it'd make this newer generation, you know, fresh blood, I think it'd make them a lot more happy. So, you know, yeah, pick your poison. And yes, I am aware that Usher is a part of the halftime show, apparently. He is the performer that's going to be performing. But if they put in just enough time in the halftime show to do Sweet Victory, I mean, I think that'll be worth it. That's it. SpongeBob doesn't need to make up the entire halftime show, and honestly, the song is not long enough to take up the entire halftime show. And I feel like that'd be a stupid thing to do. And you know, I'm sure that Usher's gonna do a good job at the halftime show, and I'm sure he's gonna do like good stuff. But if they set enough time so that they could do that a minute and a half song, I think this might be the best halftime for the Super Bowl ever. And who knows, maybe this TikTok is just a little tease. Maybe it has nothing to do with the Super Bowl, and maybe they're not even going to the Super Bowl. If that's the case, then this is a really rough start to SpongeBob's TikTok, because, man, don't give people hope, man. This is what we want. This is what the people need. This is what they demand. This is what they request. And if you don't give it to them, well, you're gonna run into some problems. But another reality that I think we need to consider too is that it might not be for the halftime show at all, but at the same time, part of the halftime show. The reason I'm saying that is because Nickelodeon has this really, how do I put it? Really interesting kind of concept that they made up, and it's basically a projection of the sports game. It's being broadcasted, but it's being commentated by Nickelodeon stars and Nickelodeon characters. I think there was one broadcast where it was Patrick Star commentating over some kind of sports game or something like that. I don't know, it was really weird. It was a really weird thing to see. It's highly possible, like, the Nickelodeon kind of broadcasts that they do, I think it's really possible that their halftime show might be Sweet Victory, and that might just be what's going to happen. In fact, I'd go a step above. I think that's the most likely option. I mean, it would be really, really cool to see it in the normal people kind of broadcast. Because, I mean, let's be honest, not a lot of people are going to watch the Nickelodeon broadcast of the Super Bowl. I mean, come on, get real. Use your head. But I think it'd be really cool if they can manage to do both. If they're doing the Nickelodeon broadcast of the Super Bowl, there's no way that they're not going to be part of that halftime show. But at the same time, if they can manage to just squeeze, again, a minute and a half into the regular Super Bowl halftime, I mean, that's a win-win-win. I really do think that they have a golden opportunity here to completely and utterly expunge the mistake that they made in 2019. Not only for blue balling us, but for also replacing that already bad taste in our mouth with Maroon 5, which just made the taste even worse. But I feel like if they do it to where the SpongeBob halftime show is only going to be on the Nickelodeon one, I think it's going to upset a lot of people. I mean, it's going to be great that we get it in the halftime show, but I think it will upset a lot of people. I might be a little upset. I might cry a little bit. Just a little bit. I don't got a lot of tears. But regardless, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, it's less than a month away before we find out this master plan by SpongeBob and the SpongeBob TikTok, Nickelodeon, NFL, the whole works. But at the end of the day, I think we're just going to have to wait. My prediction is, and it's my unfortunate prediction, is that it's just going to be on the Nickelodeon broadcast, and it's not going to show up anywhere near the regular broadcast of the Super Bowl. And that's an unfortunate reality. My second prediction is that if they do show up in the regular halftime show, it's only going to be like a little clip, exactly what they did in 2019, which again is going to be another big bummer. Now the third option, which I really don't think is going to happen, but I really, really hope happens, is that they'll put time in for just the entire performance of Sweet Victory by SpongeBob, not only on the Nickelodeon one, but also in the regular Super Bowl. But I just don't think it's going to happen, and that's just the unfortunate truth. So you got to prepare for that. Get ready to be disappointed this halftime, boys and girls. It's not going to be good. But as I said, we're just going to have to wait and see. But that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, if indeed you still are. My name is Brockster, and I bid you all adieu.